my name's Freema Agyeman and I play Martha Jones.
Hi, I'm Ruari Mears and I'm a movement artist.
And I'm Helen Raynor and I'm the writer of this episode and the next one. So there we are, we can all go home now. And here we are. One of my first lessons is never trust anyone in a tracksuit.
Especially a red tracksuit.
Yes.
So it's quite fetching, actually.
Oh, bless.
And they're very, very warm. Try wearing one of those underneath a full spacesuit and you'll know about it.
Oh no. And Joe the journalist is coming off the worst in terms of a showdown.
But then, obviously, at this stage, we have no idea who's the baddie and the goodie here, and we just see her being turfed out, and, you know, we could assume that she was
Oh,
out
she's
of
so
line.
beautiful, I'm assuming she's a goodie. And Ryan Sampson playing Luke Rattigan was giving us a brilliant sneer on the steps there. That's got to be a sign of a baddie. So.
Indeed. The creative process that goes into designing all the sort of meaningless technology on the screens, I think that's got to be quite...
Meaningless?
Well, it's not actually following... You know, there's nothing there in sense of actual functionality.
No, absolutely.
You know,
it's a
movie, isn't it?
It's a joint triumph of the art department,
Definitely.
who, of course, have got this down to a T by now.
I love it.
And
It's
also
wonderful.
graphics who come up with some fabulously intriguing-looking, meaningless stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I say meaningless, it'll be on the phone now. So.
Yes, of course.
You missed the
Bad
point.
choice of words there, I think.
You see, she's just been interfering. That's what she's saying she's been doing. So at this stage, I still think, look, young Luke had a right to reject
you're
her
harsh.
from his
You're harsh.
house.
I'm rooting for her. Also, surely by this point she's got victim written all over it. Single woman in a car on her own late at
An
night.
estate car.
And, well, yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Pre-trailer.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
I mean, pre-credits.
Pre-credits,
Then,
yes.
yeah.
This woman is dead.
Ominous.
First sinister car moment.
Yep. Never a good sign when the locks go down. No.
We're not far leap from all this, I reckon. Starts with the sat-nav, then cars that drive themselves, park themselves, then drive you
if
into
only.
a...
And then drive you into a river.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And out of sight.
What a hideous slow
That was
death.
2 different cars, wasn't it? That was a functional, drivable one, and then a sort of shell of a car which is sinkable. I think. Anyway,
really?
I remember them having a conversation in the tone meeting because obviously they'd managed to source a car for her to drive, but
Sure.
weren't entirely happy about trashing it by throwing it into the docks.
Right, and then that would have just been crane lifted back out again, or the shell one?
Well, I hope they did. I hope it's not still there. Dear Cardiff Council, can we point out?
There'd be environmental
Doctor Who
concerns
cruise.
as well, wouldn't there? Dropping a functioning car full of oil-based fluids into
And
the
I'm
river.
assuming that Joe the journalist, the lovely Eleanor Matsura, was taken out of the car as well. Ooh! Who's
and
that? Oh, that's such a...
yeah. So that was my... Well, actually, that wasn't my first scene, but yeah.
So
that's the
Martha's
first-
back.
But we always know when Martha's there because we hear Martha's song playing delightfully in the background, don't we?
Yeah, that's always so good, having all
Yeah.
the themed music going on.
Does a band
That's
follow you
great.
around on set then?
Yeah.
Is this something that happens in real life? Freema's music. The soundtrack of her life, literally.
Absolutely.
We were spoilt for... There are so many sort of cliff hangers kind of going into the credits there because obviously the car going off is great and then the TARDIS scene is a nice one, but it had to be you. We've got to get you there. We couldn't top you. Oh, your hair looks fab.
Yes, it does.
Oh, thanks, guys. Look at the stance. Oh, look, the meeting between Martha and Donna coming up in a bit. Oh, and of course, the Doctor and Martha.
It's always in an alleyway, isn't it?
Yeah. What's that
That sounds
about?
rude now I've said it. I'm sorry, children. Oh,
the
and a
friendly
lovely
embrace.
big hug. Oh.
Come on, Donna, come on.
Right.
Oh, it's a world of pain there. Oh, love her.
But I really enjoyed getting the scripts for this, actually, and sort of just going through and thinking, right, are they going to literally start swinging their handbags and, you know, or is it going to be, you know, completely like, let's just pretend it's not happening. But I mean, of course, Russell, again, there's like that little hint of hurt, but then, you know, she's got other things going on. So it's all that happening at the same time. But
I know, there's so much going on. I mean, that kind of... Well, writing that, you can imagine you just sit down and think, well, it's a huge scene and we've got about a page and a half. How much can we cover? And no, we kind of, early on we decided not to go for the handbags at dawn option just because we sort of slightly been there with Rose
Tyler
and
Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane in Toby Whithouse's school reunion. And as you say, Martha's kind of moved on and she's got her own life and here's a huge chunk of it. Oh, all those men running around in uniform. Must have been a nightmare on set, Freema, honestly.
So literally, then you all sit down and talk about it all together in terms of what, you know, what...
The scripty ideas.
Yeah.
Always starts off with a meeting with Russell.
Right.
And we kind of... he pitches what he wants and we kind of compare notes on what we're really interested in, what we'd love to do, and... kind of evolve a shortlist from there, really. The original idea for this wasn't, in fact, sinister cars and sinister sat-nav. It was actually... an idea Russell had about chimneys, giant chimneys that every house was having installed that had some kind of superficial... ecological function, something to do with cleaning the atmosphere in a very kind of simplistic way. But, of course, actually had underneath it a much more sinister alien Sontaran function, which is structurally, exactly what we did with the cars. But, of course, cars, they're kind of... I did write a first draft of a script that had these chimneys in them, and then thought... Wouldn't it be more fun if there were cars, actually? Because cars with sat-nav, I just thought for kids watching it who are, you know, sort of driven around in cars, that it was something which is actually more kind of real world and engageable with.
So is the alien matched to the idea?
Yeah, pretty early on. I mean, we knew it was going to be a Sontaran story, and then heroic Colonel Mace.
Yes.
And of course we've missed now, because I've been rabbiting on about my life as a writer, the origins of my ideas. We've missed the heroic arrival of UNIT. They're back and taking centre stage in their own story. And what is Martha's role in UNIT?
Well, there was talks which, you know, which probably, I don't know, were you privy to then at that time, about when we first see her?
Yeah.
Is she as a doctor?
Yeah.
Or is she as a soldier?
Is she, we always had this kind of, because we've got this sort of slightly kind of dual attitude towards UNIT, in the sense that they're, well, our attitude should be the doctor's attitude, actually, which is it's very militaristic.
Sure.
And, you know, they're quite heroic and they have a job to do, but... they're sort of the opposite of his sort of more freewheeling, generous kind of anarchy.
Sure.
And so we didn't want to make Martha an out-and-out sort of, you know, right at the core of UNIT and totally take on board their values. But equally, she is working for them. So it was kind of it was a thin, sort of, a difficult line to kind of... to walk. And I never worked out her job title. What she's got on her badge or a door, I don't know.
No, never zoom into the badge. But obviously, I mean, she's a trained medical doctor, but then, given all the experience she has gained in, you know, space travel and in that field, that she kind of has a lot to offer in, you know, studying alien incursions.
Saving the world, that sort of thing,
You're bigging up Martha's job here. You're after a pay rise, aren't you? So,
well, she couldn't just stay in medical bay, I think, and just not say anything. So she kind of wants to be involved in all this side as well. But yeah, I guess
she's a doctor with an alien sideline.
There, that's exactly it.
This is a fabulous location, and I can't even tell you where it is, which is useless.
It's... is that Marmalade?
Is that Marmalade?
And it is, I think, and it's definitely a location that's been used a good few times.
Yeah. Once or twice.
I think, was the Rachnos here?
Right, yes,
someone mentioned when we were there.
I mean, a sort of big industrial type space that you can redress a bit in terms of art department.
But it's got so much stuff in it in terms of pipework and cabling.
Yeah, it's visually
you don't need to do a hell of a lot to it.
Yeah. No.
Because that was one of the problems they had with the glass factory, wasn't it? So many of the fittings had been ripped out.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I often go around and have a little nosy about and ask, was this here already? Did we put this in? Was this here? And it is quite interesting to see how much is already.
I know. It's the kind of thing I always get wrong as well. I'm always congratulating the art department on some fabulous ducks, and they're like, no, Helen, they were actually part of the building. I'm like, oh, right, there we are. Oh, I should point out, while we're looking at our two intrepid unit soldiers, UNIT, of course, used to be the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, and due to circumstances somewhat beyond our control, then the actual, genuine, real-world UN weren't entirely happy having their name. You know, it's a very different world we live in now than when UNIT of the old series, just that there is the internet and there are websites and the potential for sort of, I mean, not so much confusion in a literal way, but I guess brand confusion then meant that we, in the end, we thought it would be easier all round to change the name, because much as I love UNIT, I think the UN probably are more important in terms of the grand scheme of the world. But then coming up with a different name for UNIT. How many man-hours did we waste on that?
Really?
We had the whole script department coming up with variations on what it could be. Once you can't say United Nations, it's an absolute nightmare. So in the end...
done.
Yes, indeed.
What you come up with.
I came up with two rubbish suggestions, which are so bad I've now erased them from my memory, but honestly, they were embarrassing. They did work as UNIT, but they were excruciating. I didn't remember what they were. And then Russell came up with Unified Intelligence Task Force, a semi-acronym, which of course actually comes out as UIT, not UNIT, but hey, we're among friends.
Does that bring back any memories? Real clone bear?
Wow. Yes. I was glad. Well, we'll get to that, but I'm glad you got friendly with it all before I did.
I got the initial dunk. Yes.
So it's helpful to watch others first and learn what to and not to do.
And Danny Hargreaves, one of the effects supervisors, was testing the temperature on me, which was very pleasant of him.
Testing? Is that legal? That sounds terrible. It's really lowering into a vat of... I'm preempting the moment now. Let's not talk about it till we see it.
So here we have Private Harris and Private Gray. One quite polar to each other, I think. One quite...
looking most perturbed.
Getting involved, and the other, doesn't really want to play. Which was probably the wiser...
Again, two soldiers wandering through the basement of a factory. They've got alien fodder written all over them.
Yes, indeed. And they find a very large, secure-looking case, and there's banging coming from the inside.
Yes.
And the lid ominously opens, and mist escapes.
Now, is that glue actually green, or is it lit green?
Yeah, it
is green.
It is green, yes.
It was food colourings.
It's and the stuff they put in, used to thicken milkshakes,
milkshakes, So you actually could... swallow it, and I actually did.
There we go.
Hey!
Wow.
Wow, raw.
So tell me oh my God, that's horrible.
That's not very pleasant, is it?
That is really gruesome.
Yeah.
So what is that on your face? How many layers of...
There's a full-face latex prosthetic, which is then made up. Now, as you can possibly see, the only apertures in that physical there, my nostril holes and a couple of holes in front of my mouth.
Oh. So you were completely sort of...
Completely blind.
Yeah.
Utterly blind.
I don't know how you didn't panic. That's so much to just... Not only is that covering all your face, but then you're
underwater.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm not at all claustrophobic, which is very handy.
Absolutely.
I mean, when Millennium Effects, the company who make all the prosthetics, they're going to design some sort of prosthetic for you. They have to take a life cast. Now, the process involved in that is you have to sit very still in a chair, and they put algae in it, which is derived from seaweed, layers and layers of it over your head completely. Wait for it to dry, put a new layer on, and as they put each layer on, your perception gets further and further away.
How weird. It's like being buried alive.
Yes,
you can hear less and less and less, and it takes hours, and you can't move. You lose your sense of direction. You don't know whether you're up, down, left, right. Everything starts. It's a very interesting experience.
I had a little panic attack, actually. I wasn't...
Oh, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
It was when you're so alone in that space, and then you can hear the voice going, "You're doing really well." And as you say, the voice is getting further and further away, and I was like...
Oh, goodness.
It's
so much trust as well, to have people doing things to you if you can't see them.
I didn't like that.
I find it actually very pleasant. It's like sensory deprivation. It's so completely different from
I suppose
everyday
if you
life.
can embrace it and relax,
Yeah,
then
you can.
it would be,
yeah.
I mean, the sitting in the prosthetic, as I said, my ears were covered, my eyes were covered. I think I was in the prosthetic for about 6 hours before we went on to set. Now I find that a pleasant experience because it's very meditative. If you can get into that state, you just sit down and relax and just stop thinking.
You're so uncomplaining.
Yeah, that is absolutely. I was just staring at Freema then. Oh, blimey. And here we are looking at the arch baddies of the episode.
Indeed.
Yay!
Sontarans. Ooh. Terrible skin.
Yes, indeed.
Bless them. And all the Sontarans in this are... they're not the tallest chaps in the world.
No.
We always liked the idea that they were small, which they weren't always in the old series. It varied from story to story.
Oh, right.
But the idea was always that they came from a high-gravity planet, and so
Right,
they
that's
would
it.
be sort of small and squat and very dense. That's one idea, but of course... Then what's kind of quite funny in a very modern way about this whole sort of warmongering race of cloned aliens is that they're all suffering from small man syndrome. So that's the reason they're so quick to take offence and so tetchy. Which is why people keep making rather nasty little comments about their height.
They're cute.
They are quite cute, aren't they?
Now, that's the first monster that I haven't got to do. Because obviously of the height.
Because of your
Because normally I
height.
do every single one, and I was thinking, that's a shame, I'm not going to get to do the Sontaran episode. But then I has to be the clone, which is wonderful.
No, I remember Russell sent me a text actually going to me saying, this is the first baddie you're ever going to tower over. Oh, dear. And I think that scene just before then, where Martha and the Doctor were talking, as you asked me before, Helen, about what Martha's position is there in unit, and I think the audience won't know either at this point, and they will just see her running around being a military person as well. So I think it was, that was the scene really, wasn't it, of clarifying that.
And she's got. What's nice is that she holds her own in that scene as well, because she doesn't let the Doctor get away with saying, with rebuking her for what she's doing, because he's sort of, she gets to say, well, you're not around all the time, and when you're not here, what are we supposed to do? So I like it. I love those very even-handed scenes. I think they're really sort of, they're kind of very assertive for Martha.
And so when you're not, I mean, obviously you're writing episodes for each different series, and then, in not any particular running order, are you then, to write for each individual character again? I mean, how does that work?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It was I think it was the second thing Russell said after we were talking about the two-parter. He said Sontarans, and then said, Martha's back, hooray! Yeah. And I was just like, that is just lovely. And then to get the chance to write for both companions at the same time is kind of, that is a really nice, again, a kind of really lovely, meaty two-handed scene.
Oh, I loved all the stuff, Helen. So,
hooray.
Thank you. It was
I'm
so
glad.
great. When reading it, I did honestly think that's exactly, because there would be so many questions, wouldn't there, with this
where
return?
have you been, what have you done, and then
know.
limited space to tell it. I love the fact that when we meet Martha, we give her her beat with the Doctor, absolutely necessary. It's such a kind of a big heartfelt moment. But then you go with her into the story, straight into the action. You kind of, and she's in charge, and so we kind of, she takes us back into her world.
There isn't that kind of dwelling and
then sit down, have a cup of tea and a catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
I think I kind of also tried to dramatise actually the audience's reaction to seeing Martha again, which is the kind of hooray, we're back, which is why wrote that scene as the sort of cliffhanger before the pre-titles, was just say I'm here and I'm back, and then it's a chance to go hooray over the opening title. So it was tiny, isn't it?
Look at that.
Well, the soldiers are very big and hunky, so that's
that must have been a very interesting casting process, finding these guys.
But yes, you know what casting's like as well. It's not tactful. They just ring up and said, have you got anybody who's 4'10"? And so... How funny. And actually, of course, having the two companions, it's an opportunity to write Martha kind of being in the heart of the action, and then to give Donna her sort of re-engaging with the home moment and going back to the family.
God, there is loads in this.
Absolutely busting at the seams, yeah.
But a lot of those guys that were playing the Sontarans were actually quite buff as well.
Are they really?
Really? No, because I was in the prosthetics truck when I was having the prosthetic applied and seeing them getting changed. And a lot of them were finding it difficult getting the suits because they had serious musculature. Really?
Very
I
good.
bet they're making a right meal out of it. I wish I'd been on set more for this episode now then. Look at all these soldiers. What on earth was I doing?
Now, this is interesting. I recognise the acoustic properties of that room they're in because I walked through it blind.
How
Didn't recognise the room,
weird.
but that's weird.
That's hilarious.
That's very weird.
So you could do a sound map of the location, couldn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
How funny.
Now, that's the other thing as well about sort of, I wonder, to write these magnificent stories. And obviously you've worked with all the crew for so long now, so it's very much a trust thing, isn't it? To not be on set that often and it just kind of, you know,
Well, yeah,
it happens.
I think and it's really nice writing. I mean, it did happen with series 3 as well, because of course I've been script editing on the previous 2 series. But it's nice writing something and knowing that, you know, writing, you know, a kind of gloopy being in a bath and knowing that prosthetics are going to be brilliant, and writing and knowing that, you know, the art department are going to come up with a brilliant design for the Sontaran ship, and there's something kind of writing and kind of really celebrating the fact you can write these big epic things and someone's going to, you know, not just do them justice, but kind of pick them up and run off with them.
That must be really
nice.
Reassuring.
Yeah, because you actually know, because so many times you do write something and you think, well, this has fine ambitions, I wonder what'll happen to it in the end.
And without, you don't have to give details, but have you ever seen anything and thought, that's not how I envisaged it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes, you think, in my head, that was so perfect. Oh.
Right, so now these are the...
This is
all the
mad.
Can I just
workers
say,
that are a
Freema,
bit-
you
This
will
is
when
your
you pause
bedside
it like
manner,
that.
absolutely.
Yes, there's going to be men collapsing all over the place with that.
This guy was funny. He kept getting the giggles. I think the thing was cold.
Oh, this is an absolute guarantee, isn't it, to send an actor into fits the giggles. He's got to sit there looking...
Yeah,
Bless
he
him.
looks very serious.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Full control over his facial muscles.
Brilliant. See, and then this is when... I think this is the first scene Martha gets back into the white coat. Yeah, because then to try and...
Yeah.
To bring this, that element of the medicine back into
Back
it and
to
not
doctor
just...
mode.
Yeah,
Bedside
back to
manner,
doctor mode,
yeah.
that's it.
Don't go with them, Martha. They're evil now. Now this
You
the
should have
whole,
picked up on the monitor.
And the music, I should have
Yeah.
picked up on the music.
Yeah, when the music turns bad, get out of there.
So now this is, seeing the wonderful contrast, as you say, we get to, the pace just softens and slows for a moment.
Yeah,
and we
it
can
gives
just,
you... It's kind of the sort of opposite end of the scale from all of the very militaristic running
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Look at the colours, lovely.
Isn't it?
Looks very... Oh, yeah. I was
much
about to say
more
looks very
orange.
autumnal. That's because it was filmed in the autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so does
famous
Donna
today.
with her
Yeah,
flaring hair
yeah.
and
In
her
fact,
green jacket.
The art department designed the entire street, dressed it to fit around Catherine Tate's colour scheme. So they've really brought out the best in her.
I wouldn't have been wanting to hang all those individual orange leaves on those trees.
Oh, look.
See, I think, and this is the kind of scene, I think we said this in the tone meeting, that actually goes to the heart of the series. It's that combination of the absolute everyday, she's just walking down the street where her family house is, which she's presumably grown up in that street, and yet she's had... Here's Nadivos! She's had all these extraordinary adventures, and I just think linking those two worlds is something that the series does so brilliantly, and I think that's what sets kids' imagination.
Well, it's quite
on
profound,
fire as
really,
well.
isn't it?
Yeah. Both extremes. Hey, Bernard. Oh. Now she's overwhelmed by... Oh, what was he doing? Putting the bins out?
Yeah.
The most ordinary thing in the world. Oh. I love that ring. I like that jacket as well, actually.
Yes, I agree.
Oh.
And is this a road we've used before?
And the moment of embrace.
This location is...
We have... Oh, yes, we
Well,
have.
obviously we've been back to Donna's house a few times. I mean, it's
Yeah.
always... Yeah. Or is it? Yeah, we would have seen... Have we seen it up until now? Because I was... home?
Christmas, I'm trying to think if we saw her outside the house now.
Yes,
Yes,
so
it
she
did,
was going
yes,
back
and
into
it's
the
starting to
house.
snow.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right.
That's the one.
And the pace is picked up. And the goop is bubbling.
Ooh.
And the colours again here. Look at that lighting.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah,
at that.
the contrast, the pink,
Yeah.
the purple, and, yeah, wonderful.
Oh, no.
Wow.
I love that.
That's good, isn't it?
Love that. The spookiness of lights going
Lights
out.
going
in a
out, and
completely
the echoing
incidental way.
scream in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. How many times has that been said? It's bigger on the inside.
I know, that's really cute. I love this kind of, again, it's the most, I mean, this could be, if you turn the volume down, this is a scene out of any soap opera, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Sitting around the kitchen table having a cup of tea.
Having a
and
cup of
catching-
tea,
Norman
warming your
and
hands
Shai.
on the nice warm cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Having a gossip about something, but it's about travelling in time and space.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so absurd. I love it.
So we saw. This is her granddad, and we met him saw him at the Christmas special. Didn't we?
Yep. And he's a sort of stargazing enthusiast and
Okay.
someone who's kind of fascinated by the stars and the skies, but in a very
Oh.
ordinary way. I have to say, I wrote this entire scene as a sort of an homage, if that's the right word, to my mum and dad when she talks about putting him in a diet and him going off down the petrol station to get sneaky snacks. That's my parents. So
Look at that! Wow.
and this is such a mature decision not to tell her as well. You know, she's come home full of adventures and she wants to kind of blurt it all out and actually...
But she's got.
But Dad's got a bit of a knowing...
Yeah, he can take it. He can
Yeah.
he can deal with it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mum does kind of, the penny does drop once things really kick off in the episode. She's aware of what's going on. Ross, named partly after Ross Southard, who is script assistant in the Doctor Who office, and Richard Jenkins, who's involved with the websites. So
Is that,
it
do
is,
you do that with your name?
How much does that happen?
Loads. You talk to any writer and go through their scripts, and the names always come from somewhere.
Oh wow!
Luke is the name of Luke Marlowe, who is my friend Gareth's son and a huge Doctor Who fan.
Do you have anybody
So-
ever saying, "Oh, can you get my name in there for as a character?"
Oh, well, I will now. Now I've I've done it. Yeah, I should have kept my mouth shut, shouldn't I?
Oh, that's fantastic. And as you said, you've based it to the two characters, your mum and your mum and dad. So you've got
yeah.
your own personal sort of things going into it, as
Yeah,
well as,
absolutely.
I suppose, having this framework that you've also got to fit into, isn't it?
I love that kind of personal investment, even if it's something that you know only you know is there. It's a nice kind of little bit of ownership somehow. Ooh. And here we are inside the Rattigan Academy, where the best and the brightest from around the world.
See, and there's still nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
At this stage.
Absolutely, yes.
And the music's very upbeat.
And the Doctor likes it.
The Doctor's enthusiastic. Well, he's always enthusiastic in a lab, isn't he? This is brilliant.
This is
There you have
brilliant,
it.
yeah.
He was a wonderful guy.
And he's already twigged.
Ryan. He was really funny and a very clever actor, and just
He's absolutely perfect in this role because it is someone who's... Luke's essentially... He's a genius gone bad.
Right.
He's someone who actually could be the Doctor in another kind of incarnation.
Yes.
But he's someone who's kind of carried away with his own genius. He's got so much disdain for other people and for the rest of the world and is just dismissive of anyone else, which is why he can contemplate trashing the Earth in order to go off and start Luke World.
Sure.
And be king of his own little empire. And so, and actually getting that kind of mixture of, you know, sort of brilliance and you really believe there's an incredible kind of mercurial intelligence about him, the way he plays it. But there's something beautifully bratish about him as well.
That's personified by his age.
Yeah,
It wouldn't have worked with an older character.
No,
that
absolutely
concept.
not.
Absolutely. Yeah,
he's
well
he's a spoilt kid with too much power.
Yeah.
And he is exactly the right kind of age for it. He's kind of just sort of post-adolescent rather than, you know, a proper adult in a way.
Sure.
Yeah, power corrupts, and
Yes.
absolute power corrupts absolutely without the wisdom to temper it.
Oh, that's very good. Well
You're
done.
right,
We should
Rob.
use it.
This very nice artefact, lit very purpley.
Well, there was loads of interesting things. I know we've touched on it earlier as well, but just to literally, in between takes, go walking around this space and you'd find, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's a big piece like that or a little bit of detail that's... Oh, look.
Now there's a surprise.
And they all turn
face.
to look.
Is that any more multiplication going on there?
I'm thinking there was 10 of them.
10. There was 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So that probably was 10, wasn't it? In a crowded, crowded shot.
10 does tend to be the magic number with Doctor Who monsters.
Well, that does give a good illusion, I think, for a crowd, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. You can shoot 10 cleverly, and then it's a useful number to sort of duplicate, I guess. The Coeur d'Alene signal, hooray! Thank you, Russell T. Davis, for coming up with the Coeur d'Alene signal. In a unit story, when you've got lots of soldiers running around with guns, then they are just very powerful adversaries. And you don't want them to shoot their way out of trouble every time, otherwise the story would be over in the first 10 minutes, really. So having something which, conveniently stops them shooting people when you want them to is absolutely perfect. Now, this is the first time we've seen
reveal.
Actual kind of full-face Sontaran.
He does look mean. It is a very good prosthetic, isn't it?
That's extraordinary, because it looks like his mouth is...
Yeah.
We should point out that the actor underneath, Christopher Ryan, is an extremely normal and handsome-looking man, so...
I think Weasel.
I love that little bit of reversal, the idea of what we look like to aliens, these puny little pink humans. I love his little ears. Remind me of a little hippopotamus's ears.
They are just so... They did make me giggle when I first saw them. They are funny looking.
Yeah.
Well, that is testament to the skill of Millennium Effects in designing... Well, modelling the suit and the monster, because you're right, it is, the concept of a small monster has a lot of potential for comedy. And they do look very imposing.
Yeah.
The suit with the muscles and... it's beautiful.
I think it's something which is, something that's solid and chunky and powerful, but also that does have that element of comedy about it. Again, I think it's something that is quite an exciting sort of monster and villain, for particularly for children. It's that kind of texture. You actually kind of don't want to touch his head in a way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of got that.
You know it's going to be slimy.
Yeah.
What's the longest any of your prosthetics have taken? The longest amount of
put
time
on?
to put on, yeah.
It was probably that clone, actually.
Really?
That took, I think it was 2 hours to put it on. Yeah, I mean, how long did the old Martha prosthetic?
That took ages.
I bet it did.
Because once we did all the face and I had to go into makeup and be
that's
made up
right.
and have all my hair done as well,
Yeah.
I think the maximum time we hit was close to 4 hours.
Wow.
Oh.
It was
And that's your
special.
old Martha makeup in Torchwood.
Do you enjoy the process of having it put on?
Having it put on, all that was fine. And then as the course of the day goes on, you can't scratch your face.
Yeah.
You start to feel sweaty under there.
That would drive
By
me
the
round the
time to
bend.
take it off, you just want to tear it off.
I remember talking to the cat nurse nuns in New
Yeah.
Earth. It's so funny. Having a chat in somebody's trailer and you're surrounded by 3 cat faces. It was, and they're all lovely, lovely actors. And they let me stroke their noses, which isn't something you get so very often. And they had beautiful, lovely, furry little faces and very, very flexible. But yes, they were itching a lot.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like much, but if you think about going through the whole day, it's 12 hours on set, without being able to scratch your face or even blow your nose, that would absolutely drive me round the bend. Okay, things not looking good for
It's
Martha
not looking
here.
good, is it? No.
Again, once you've got one of them on your head...
Yeah,
that's
she knows. She definitely knows things are going for the worse. I mean, the timbre of the voice, the quivering of the eyebrows. Yeah, these are all good signs.
Rory.
Years of training to do that.
This was all interesting stuff because it was the body double that was... you went in it first.
It did. This
then
is my hand.
Miriam went in it.
And Miriam is...
my body double.
Aha.
So when it was when obviously you've got us in a 2-shot, and then I was the last one.
You were the last one.
So I was literally, I was watching and listening to what you were, because I was just thinking, oh God, this is going to be really difficult. But it was, well, we'll talk about it more when we get to it, but I don't know how you didn't, with something on your face as well, I don't know how you didn't
I think
freak out
that
when
is
you were under there,
extraordinary. That is quite,
it was quite disconcerting just being under, swallowing it all without anything on your face.
Yes.
You just know where you are, and you have to have absolute trust in the team around you, which you do. Because as you've said, the Doctor Who team is very, very professional, very
They
able, and you
are,
have absolute trust. You know you're going to be fine. Everything's tested the first time you go in. You go, do you feel comfortable with this? You try it out, you see how deep it is, and everyone says, is that okay? And you know you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and you give yourself some credit now, Rory, because it's
Yeah,
all
exactly.
that in place.
I trust them, and they're all lovely, and you still wouldn't get me lying in the bathroom gloop with something covering my face. So, there's trust and then there's trust. So,
but it wouldn't work if you didn't have that. I mean, the very, very first audition I ever did for a creature, which was for the Cybermen back in Series 2, we did an exercise based on trust where a few people would stand up and you'd close your eyes and let yourself fall over. You'd be surrounded by a few other people and they'd catch you. And they'd push you in a random direction and somebody else would then catch you.
Right.
And you've got your eyes closed and you're completely relaxed.
Just being pushed around.
Just allowing to be pushed around and being caught. So it's a trust exercise, and these are people you don't know.
I didn't know you had all this going on beforehand.
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
And a great mill moment here.
Fantastic.
Well done, the mill. Look at that.
Wow.
It just pulls out and keeps going and keeps going. That's lovely. So many different elements in that as well.
I don't think the female has a weak
aliens.
thorax at all.
What a
That's
good
how you know
line.
they're a baddie.
What a good line.
Oh,
So, yes. Oh, actually, I think that was my hand.
Yeah, that's definitely a feminine hand.
No, as in yours was first, then that was
Yeah.
mine.
And
then
here we go.
that's-
And
Martha's
that's
reveal.
Miriam there.
Right. And here's...
This bit, it was flying down my throat,
Yeah.
literally.
oh,
Was this?
no.
But it was literally all the glue was going
Right.
up down my throat, and I thought I'm going to gag, but I thought no, just I was swallowing profusely.
You're holding that
and
incredibly well, if that's true. You look
Wow.
so mean there.
Yeah.
I
That
was
is
just
a
thinking,
big
don't
mean
gag,
glare,
don't
isn't
gag,
it?
don't gag. And then we did it in one. You don't know how
Brilliant.
happy I was. that we didn't have
Didn't have to do it again. Yeah.
So how did you get it
Wow.
into your...
Well, I was when I said I was
Yeah.
listening to what all you lot were being told. They said do a big breathe out through your nostrils before you go down into the gloop, which I did incorrectly. And as I got under there, I must have just a little
Yeah,
bit because
yeah,
it
that's
started.
it.
And once it opens, it's difficult and it starts
Indeed.
burning. So as I came up, I was just swallowing. Thought, please just hold it. And then when it cut, I was like. But yeah, it was. And the other thing was, did you have anything to hold on to when you were under there? You
Yes.
kept on. The buoyancy
Yes.
was bringing you up, wasn't it?
Indeed. And because I was wearing a wetsuit as well,
Right.
there was bits of air in it. That had buoyancy.
Right.
So bits of it would keep floating up, so I ended up taking the suit down to the waist.
like a farce
and in the
now.
end, I just took the whole thing off, so it was a bit cold then.
Oh, love.
And there was me in my Speedos with this prosthetic. Yeah, wonderful.
How random.
And somebody must have taken a picture of that. I'd pay
Probably. And here we go. This is the death of the demon Satnav.
That's a great line as well. And he was expecting.
And you know that, and that's making a virtue out of the fact that I think originally we'd have loved the whole thing to go kaboom,
Oh, really?
in a very classic way. But you know what? There's only so much money, and you want to spend it
Absolutely.
in good places. And so yes, I think Russell had the idea of making a virtue out of this tiny little.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's like the exploding spaceship in the Scarecrow's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the invisible spaceship.
Oh, yeah, but yes, invisible spaceship.
Yes, indeed.
I said, was that a clever idea?
What a clever idea.
And what a lovely cheap one, too. So. And here he is,
Brilliant.
investigating the car.
Well, you would investigate cars if you'd just been confronted with demon Satnavs, wouldn't you?
So, Evil Martha is now out and dressed, and
Yes.
we did debate a little bit about the clothes that Martha was wearing and who was going to be wearing what when, because obviously, what we didn't want was you running around naked for the entire second half. And so, I suppose, really, what you have to imagine is that in one of the rooms off the kind of the cloning room, there's a seamstress, Sontaran, who's sitting there with a little sewing machine running you up a lovely number to...
Very funny.
It's got your measurements and it's doing you a little wardrobe double there.
Oh, gosh.
It's the kind of thing that nobody notices until someone stupid like me points it out.
Well,
and now
no,
I'm saying, saying, how come they
You can, you're the writer.
Yes, I should get better at covering things up, really.
That's always good advice. Don't shoot when there's a risk of massacre.
Yep. But he's talking to Evil Martha. I love the idea. Originally we had the idea. You love playing me,
Ooh,
don't you?
love
You
it.
really do. You're having a right little smolder there.
That was it was so much fun. Just being
being naughty. It's good, isn't it? It is good.
It is good.
I think it's a nice thing to do for that character because we did originally talk about using cloning a lot more. So all the workers in the factory were going to be cloned as well.
Right, yeah.
Because, of course, that's, Sontarans, if you kind of
That's
break
how they
down their
produce, isn't
CV
it? Yes.
as a baddie, then that's how they've got cloning technology. And so we thought that's a good idea.
Sure.
And then it kind of thought, well, actually, that does give us a problem for the second half, as in where are the originals? And anyway, so we sort of went. Yeah, we kind of then went for sort of hypnosis rather than cloning. So they're just being hypnotised. They're working, very long hours. But that meant we could save the idea of cloning then for Martha. Because I love the idea. I mean, Martha, we're so pleased to see her. She's back and everyone's going, hooray, it's lovely Martha. And then she turns out to be...
Didn't last long.
And then without kind of betraying the integrity of the character, we don't have real Martha being, horrible and evil. Because we couldn't, but what we can do is create an evil doppelganger, which is a...
No, it's
That must
brilliant.
have been such a good experience.
It really was.
Yeah.
And of course, I've never done anything like that before, so you just think, brilliant, this is
What can
another
I do with my
huge
face?
learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so much to play with at any one time in this series. So, I was really looking forward to it. And it worked really closely with Douglas, the director, just because, you need some, input with things like that, because it's all very new. So, I had a really good time, but... Being bad is up there in my top favourite moments of playing Martha Jones.
That's a lot of fun.
I prefer to be bad. Definitely.
I mean, good is great, but bad is wicked.
It's because it's such a contrast to your everyday personality, isn't it?
Well, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get to be bad in real life if you're not bad.
Well...
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
You've got to hold back every day, and once in a while you just want to let
Got to be bad.
Give the
Enough is
opportunity.
enough.
The magic of TV.
Now, these are all great as well, these signs, these Atmos signs all being designed.
I was just thinking I want to get one of them for my car.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd want one. I mean, I wonder how many versions of those there were, until that's decided. I think it's a fantastic design.
It does look very sort of authentically, sort of the kind of... They've done well on the marketing there. That's a nice shot. Wow.
Lots of
and
smoking
again,
cars.
should point out that we did... when we were talking about cars, obviously the first thing we thought of was, poison gas and exhaust fumes, etc. Because, again, it's a very observable thing for that kind of real-world sort of engagement with the series. But what it did mean was that practically was then we'd be dealing with a load of cars outside and a load of smoke. And if we'd had the kind of weather that we had last year when we were filming at that time, do you remember doing, standing in Hooverville, freezing to death with the storm and the wind and the rain?
That was Daleks in Manhattan.
Yeah, it would have been absolutely catastrophic. But as it turned out, with, I think, absolutely no exceptions, the weather was perfect, sort of still... clear autumnal weather, so when we needed the smoke to kind of belch out and hang around in big clouds, that's exactly what it did.
There.
A strong wind would have scuppered that.
It wouldn't have worked at all, would it?
No. Completely disappeared.
Yeah.
So that was lucky.
Yes, indeed.
And they're doing their Sontaran haka.
Yes.
I remember when the boys did this in the read-through.
Yeah.
Everyone just thought they were cracking up, and they were cracking up themselves as they were doing it. But it was just a real moment when they were all chanting in this room. It was hilarious.
I bet that's the sort of thing they carried on off camera.
The Sontaran Boys Club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at it go.
Look at him getting involved.
I love him.
Rock on.
He just wants to belong. Oh, look, we're laughing. This is so not a funny moment.
No, it isn't.
Poor old Bernard. I mean, that's the gas sort of did smell a bit like plasticine.
Oh, did it?
Coming up next time, I wonder what happens. But we can't tell you.
You'll just have to wait.
Oh.
Well, that was very enjoyable.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Helen. I learned loads, actually.
No, thank you. That was I'm just extremely grateful I never have to lie down in a tank full of gloop with anything on my face.
It's an experience.
It is. And it looks fab, doesn't it?
It does look good. Slimy stuff on your face looked fantastic as well.
The
That looks
worst
genuinely
experience
repulsive.
with that was getting waxed.
Waxed?
Yes, I am a bit of a hairy chap. And obviously
Where
the
did they
clone
have
was
to
not.
wax you?
Full torso body
Did
wax.
you?
Oh, yes.
Who?
That's so
I went to
harsh.
a salon.
I thought they didn't do it here, did they?
Mate.
We pump you into makeup.
It was, yeah,
I'm telling
exactly,
you.
yeah.
When I
Phil
said
Collins
that,
in there,
no,
standing
Phil,
there
I had a
with
chat
the
with Phil about it, in fact, right? Because they were saying, why are you getting waxed? I've had that done, and it was the most painful experience of my life. Off I go, never again. My word.
Oh, you poor
never,
thing.
never again.
Brilliant.